Elder. He is currently a Principal and Chief Strategy Officer for Global Base Technologies, a company that is implementing a patented machine learning crawling technology in several areas. Scott was the co-founder of Online Investors Advantage, which he helped to take public. After merging with its financial data provider, Telescan Inc., the name was changed to InvestTools Inc. He was instrumental in facilitating the merger and acquiring the contracts with McGraw-Hill and GE to develop and market stock investing training and tools under the Business Week Inventor Workshop and CNBC University names. Prior to this, Scott had a media production and marketing company which did joint venture marketing deals with companies such as General Mills, Rubbermaid, and Procter & Gamble. After selling his interest in InvestTools Inc., Scott co-founded True North Academy, which develops and fulfills specialized distance learning programs primarily for the financial services industry. Current clients include Zacks Research, Investors Business Daily, Options Express, and TD Ameritrade. Scott is still a principal partner in this company. Scott also has a consulting firm, Cosmic Bridge, where he helps other companies develop marketing strategies and training programs. Scott received his Bachelor's of Arts in Communications from Brigham Young University and his MBA from the University of Phoenix. He is married to Barbara Elder and is the father of 4 children. We're very pleased to welcome Scott today, and from the center we have a gift for him, which we'll present to him as he comes up to give his presentation.
Thanks. Clay, would you help me bring my prop table out here? Now, I know the question that's on all your minds is, hey, this is entrepreneurship and technology, and he doesn't have a PowerPoint, and he's using a whiteboard. Well, there's a very good reason for that. First reason is I got the call to do this on Friday, and I was involved in finishing a project, so I didn't have time to put together the type of PowerPoint presentation I like to do, and I'm going to help you on this. How many have heard of the book Beyond Bullet Points? Okay, write that down, Beyond Bullet Points. PowerPoint presentations that are done with headers and bullet points are not effective, and you're better off not having one than to have one most of the time, because it's just something that would be up here and I'd be reading it to you and you'd be thinking in your mind, I can read that to myself just as well as you can read it to me. The Beyond Bullet Points shows you how to do a PowerPoint using images and instructional design that stick with people and keep it a little bit more dynamic. Now that I'm a convert to that system, I won't just throw together a PowerPoint anymore. But I also like to have things up here at the same time that are kind of, I can be interactive and it can be non-linear. And I'm a big fan of the show 24, and I like when it has different things going at the same time there, because my mind can follow that. And when you're thinking non-linear and simultaneous, it just I can be a little bit more dynamic with this at this time. But I did bring my box of props so I can take you on a journey. I call the entrepreneurial journey, and I'll take you on a journey of my entrepreneurial. What I've put up here, this you get the advantage. I don't have to write this while talking. It was from the last class. To me, an entrepreneur is a problem solver who recognizes a profitable enterprise in whatever problem he's solving. So I enjoy solving problems. I enjoy taking and looking for problems that might be out there and looking for ways to solve it and looking for a way to turn it into a profitable enterprise. And that's what most entrepreneurs do. I put up here also what I call the 3 resources of an entrepreneur. And I'll be talking about this throughout my presentation, because a lot of times people they're out there trying to raise money and they think, all I need is money. And for guys starting out and gals starting out without money, there are other ways to achieve your objectives and to succeed. InvestTools just sold to TD Ameritrade for $660 million. Now, I didn't get that $660 million. I sold out before that and didn't even get near that. But what I got, you wouldn't feel sorry for me, but I wish I'd got more. But the point being, it sold for $660 million. That company was started at my home with no money. And all I used was a system that I'm going to just share with you today. and just kept building upon it and building upon it. And it involves recognizing technology and applying that technology in the proper place. I'm going to pull out a few books here. These are my props, and they're kind of a little out of order now, but this book right here, John Naisbitt, Megatrends. Only us gray hairs are familiar with this book, right? Is there anybody else who's familiar with this book? Okay, this was the book of books back in my day. This was 1982. And I studied this book, and it's highlighted, and I just wanted to understand, it said 10 new directions for transforming our lives. But the one takeaway out of this book, actually there's two of them, but the one that defined my career as an entrepreneur and still defines what I do and how I do was John Naisbitt said that the world is drowning in information but starving for knowledge. This was before the internet. I mean, if we were drowning in information then, we are really drowning in information now. What does that mean, drowning in information and starving for knowledge? That there's just so much stuff out there. People don't know where to start. You go into a library, you see all this stuff on how to do things, and there's just shelves and shelves, and where do you start? And it's just a whole bunch of information. And what I learned is if I could take that information and distill it down into actionable, applicable, step-by-step, easy to follow knowledge, that people would pay me for that. They'd pay me to go out and swim in the sea of information and pull it together into something that something could use, that they could use. So that was very key to me in that book and the message that came out. The other thing that he said back then was for high tech to succeed, it has to have an element of high touch. Remember, before the internet, for high tech to succeed, it has to. We're still humans. We want to interact. We want to touch. We want to have an experience. We have to have something that is just kind of human in nature, and it's not just all technology driven without that high touch. So I kept those two things in mind. I've got my Ben Franklin, America's Original Entrepreneur book. This is a great book because Ben Franklin was the original entrepreneur, and all he did was solve problems and found ways to sell and make money off the problems he was solving. And if you go back to Philadelphia and you go to the Benjamin Franklin Museum, it's just like Benjamin Franklin one day was having trouble with the stove, smoking up his house, so he redesigned the potbelly stove there, and houses were burning down from getting hit by lightning, so he comes with the lightning rod, the bifocals, this stool that converts to a step because he was a short guy like me and he wanted to get the books at the top, on and on and on and on. And one of the things that Benjamin Franklin says in here is diligence is the mother of luck. Diligence is the mother of luck. I've kind of put my words to this. Instead of diligence, I've got action, and action puts into motion the powers of the universe in ways that you could never imagine. I'm going to tell you right now that some of the best businesses out there and some of the best entrepreneurial things that have ever happened could not have been written in a business plan, because you couldn't imagine that those things would happen just by taking action. But Bill Gates could not have put in his business plan that IBM is going to go out and meet with this guy and talk to him about his operating system, and he's going to forget about the meeting, and he's going to be flying his plane, and IBM's going to be upset with him. And I know another guy who has an operating system, and he doesn't know what to do with it, so he'll license it to me, and I'll go to IBM, and I'll be the one who creates the IBM. That couldn't have been put into a business plan. Or IBM forgot when they did the contract with Bill Gates' company to create the operating system, the IBM operating system. They had accidentally, somehow, an oversight, left out of that contract that it would be exclusive. And so after Bill Gates' company did the operating system for IBM, then he goes out and creates his own operating system. I mean, those are things you put into action, and all these things kind of happen out there that could not have been put in a business plan. And so we got to remember that not everything can be thought of and put into a plan. You just got to start taking action, and things will happen. And technology, I found this when I was kind of going through some of my stuff. I graduated in communications. You heard that. How many people are here in communications? It can be a great entrepreneurial studies in the communications. My daughter Jessie graduated in communications, and she's become an entrepreneur. My son's an entrepreneur. When you grow up with an entrepreneur dad, you see the advantages and benefits of it. But just because you're in communications, don't think that you can't be an entrepreneur and you can still get all the business stuff. You're here, you're learning that stuff. But my instructor, when I was taking a video class, talked to us about this new technology called high-definition video. And he told us that high-definition video is so advanced that you'll probably never see it in the market in your lifetime. And so I had the opportunity in 1988. This is my video crew. We produced the second movie ever produced on high-definition video. And it was just a thrill for me to be producing this after my instructor told me that we would never see it in our lifetime. Now, some of you communication students may know this, but back in the old days, video, the professional video cameras had tubes in them, and you have 3 tubes in them, your red, green, and yellow tubes, and then it was hooked up to a thing called a time-based corrector that was about the size of a refrigerator, and then that hooked up to a 1-inch tape machine, and we had to haul all of that stuff all around. And today you can go down to Best Buy and get a high-definition 3-chip camera and hold it in your hand. The takeaway I had on that was when technology that seems way out there is a lot closer than we think, and to look for, as that technology is coming, and how you can implement it into your life. The book, The Tipping Point, is this a book that you're familiar with, that they have you to read on when things are ready to be marketable and things are going to happen that can bring about a change? A lot of good stuff in here. One of the things that I add to this is convergence, and to be aware of how certain technologies that are happening in the video industry, in the audio industry, in the internet, and all these things as they come together, as the installed base of computers are in more homes with internet. At one time, you probably may not believe this, but there's a time when people didn't have computers with internet in their homes. And now you have several of them, and gosh, I got this phone that's actually a computer with internet on it, and I can use this as a modem. And to see where technology is going, you just need to be aware and to watch for it. Wayne Gretzky. Who's heard of Wayne Gretzky? Any hockey players here? Wayne Gretzky said, when someone asked him, why are you such a great hockey player? And he says, all the rest of the players are going to where the puck is. I'm going to where the puck's going to be. Now, I had a great question in the last, how do you know when you're too far ahead of the puck? Well, you've got to be able to see where the technology is going and where that line is where you can intersect it so you can get there at the same time. While other people are chasing it and it's moving ahead, if you can kind of just be there and have things ready to go to implement into that technology when it gets there, you'll be ahead of everybody else. If you get too far ahead, you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time and not achieve your objective there. But I just kind of want to make case in point. This article was in the paper just the other day when I was reading this. I thought, I'm going to bring this in. Local video store feeling the crunch. People are renting fewer and fewer videos at video stores. And why is that? Get them online. Get them online. Redbox, Netflix. Netflix is going to be downloading videos as the delivery system. The person who was in the video store business wasn't an entrepreneur. They were kind of in the video store business and didn't realize where the puck was going, and it just left them behind. But what was sad here is this lady they interviewed. She's in the store, and she says, for the first time I went to Redbox, I had to have a bag boy help me. I'm a confident, smart 50-year-old woman, and I couldn't make it work. And I thought, she's making us 50-year-olds look bad. We don't have to be 50-year-old people who say we're incompetent with technology. We got to stay up on it. When I graduated from BYU, the video cassette was the hot technology that was just coming out. In fact, when you went to a video store, a lot of people rented the video cassette player. There weren't what I refer to as an installed base of video players into homes yet. You were renting it. And so it was brand new. And I went to meet with somebody to talk to him about doing a video for their business for training and marketing. And he was a very successful businessman. And he was sitting across the desk from me. And I was just new, and I didn't have any track record of success. So I just had to listen to him tell me how great and wonderful he was, in that he wasn't a believer in technology, that he didn't think video was something he needed to implement. And in fact, he wasn't ever going to have a computer in his business. And I'm thinking, wow, you're one of the richest, dumbest guys I know. Because I saw those things coming. And I thought, you can't do that. You can't just say you're not going to do this. And I made a commitment to myself at that point. Someday I'm going to be a 50-year-old guy and hopefully be as successful as him. And if one of you guys come to me and say, hey, here's where the technology's going and here's why it's so cool and everything, I'm going to listen. Because I want to know, and I'm going to try to stay out there in the forefront of what's going on, because it's exciting with where technology is going. And I've incorporated that philosophy into everything I've done in my businesses. The E-Myth. Is this required reading? You read this, the E-Myth? It's the entrepreneurial myth that Michael Gerber talks about, and it's good to understand. Just as I pointed out here, just because you're good at something and you become a technician in it doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. You've got to think like an entrepreneur who's always looking at where the market's going and where the technology is going for what you're doing. And he talks about creating the systems to run your business rather than you being the guy always running it. So that book had a great impact on me. But when we talk about the convergence and things coming together, this is a most recent book. This is a New York Times bestseller. This is The 4-Hour Workweek, Timothy Ferriss. Tell me you've read this book. There's somebody nodding out there. You're nodding. Okay. Timothy Ferriss took it one step further and says, you take the technology, not only do you systematize it, you automate it, and then you outsource what you can so that it can do a lot of the work so you can do the higher level thinking. Now, in his case, he's out there running around the world learning how to shoot bows and arrows from horses and all kinds of other stuff, because he's showing that he's automated and systematized his business. But these are the kind of things that you need to be aware of so that you can see where technology is going and see how you can take advantage of those opportunities in it. I'm going to pull out another book here just because my daughter and son are here. I'm going to test them right now. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And everyone's familiar with this, right? Stephen Covey's right here, and so we're all familiar. I couldn't tell you what those 7 habits are off the top of my head. I know they're great principles, and I've applied them in my life. But there's 2 things that I pulled out of this book that have been key to me in doing things as an entrepreneur. And one of them is, Jesse, when you say yes to one thing, when you say yes to one thing, you say no to another. You need to be stewards of your time and what you're doing, and think about all the time what you're saying yes to. Because when you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And right now could solve all the problems of this whole country. When people are saying yes to sitting around watching TV or other leisure activities or recreational, time-wasting, mundane things, they're all saying no to things that can improve their quality of life and bring prosperity into their lives. These three resources, your time. When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. I'm going to show you how you can start a business by saying yes to the right things on your time so that you can increase your expertise, so that you can require very little money to achieve what you want to achieve as an entrepreneur. There's my money, my expertise, and my time. There's other people's money, other people's expertise, and other people's time. And when you put these in the right combination, I promise you, you can achieve anything you want as an entrepreneur. And I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the things that I've done to prove what I'm saying. When I wanted to come to BYU, I got accepted to BYU. I didn't grow up LDS. I joined the church, wanted to come to BYU, come out here. I had a stepfather who said to me when I got accepted, he said, "You're wasting your time and you're wasting your money going to college." And I thought, well, that's easy for you to say. You never went to college. No one in our family's gone to college. From what I've seen, that looks like the way out of this very difficult economic situation that we had. But my stepfather was an entrepreneur of somewhat. He was a handyman in the evenings. He would fix things at people's homes and fix broken things. He was a problem solver in fixing broken things. And I learned how to fix things from him. And he said to me, he said, "Scott, you can be anything in this world you want. You just have to go down to a quick print store, print up a business card with your name on it, and whatever you want to be, you just put on that card, and that's what you are." And I'm thinking to myself, that's got to be the stupidest thing I ever heard. Thanks for the advice. I can't wait to go to college and learn what it really takes. So I come off to college here, and I'm learning these great skills in the communications, and I want to get to other things, but I created my own program in the communications department that they didn't have, and I was fortunate that I was able to present my case to the dean, and he actually let me graduate with that. I think he called it a university studies program or something. But I created my own program because there were specific things that I wanted to learn. There was specific expertise that I wanted. And I didn't want to spend 3 years learning how to run a camera. One semester was enough. I didn't want to turn my time here into 4 years of becoming a cameraman. When I learned how to run the camera, when I learned how to edit, when I learned how to run the audio, when I learned how to run the technical board, the switching board, how to light, and then I learned how to write, and then I learned how to produce. Then I took media sales because I wanted to learn how to sell, and I took media management because that was the business side of the communications. I wanted to learn how to run my own business and be able to sell people into doing business with me, and my business was going to be producing videos because I saw that technology, and I created my own program to do that, and fortunately the university accepted it, and I got my degree in it. So I have my degree now in communications and knowing how to do videos, and I worked my way through school working at a sporting goods store here in Orem, and that sporting goods store chain had its own in-house video studio. And then I just thought, I want to work in that studio, and I've learned everything, and I know how I can write, I can produce it, I can direct it, I can shoot it, I can edit it, and I'm just a one-man wrecking crew when it comes to producing videos. And so there was an opening at this in-house studio, and I thought I would have the job, and my store manager highly recommended me, and I went and talked to the president of the chain, and we sat down, and he said to me, he said, "Scott, if you were any good at producing videos, you wouldn't be selling shoes for us. You're not qualified for the position." And man, I was devastated. I gave my 2-week notice. This was in 1982. Now you may have heard that date because right now they're comparing 2008, 2009 to 1982 because we were in a very tough recession then. The economy was horrible and the unemployment was the highest. And when I gave my 2-week notice and my boss said, "You don't want to quit now?" And I said, "Look, I got to take off my resume that I sell shoes. I'm just go out there and I'm a video guy." And I went back to California, and I went to every television station, every video studio, every motion picture studio there was in California to try to get a job. And I couldn't get a job. I came back to Utah. I thought, well, I like Utah. I'm going to come back to Utah and try Utah. I came back to Utah, and I couldn't get a job. And so I started selling cars in the evening and on Saturdays, so during the day I could look for work. And then one day it dawned on me this advice that my stepfather had given me. So I went down to this quick print place, and I printed up these business cards that said, Scott Elder, video writer, producer, director of marketing and training videos. Printed up a box of these cards, and I started going around to small businesses, and I was getting video work. They were hiring me to do their marketing and training videos. And I thought, my stepfather, I got the expertise I needed from BYU, but my stepfather gave me the entree into how I was going to leverage that as a business. And so I just started going out in the day, getting business to produce videos, and I'd take them back to these studios in Salt Lake. Used to be called Video West, was part of KSL, Bonneville Productions, another one called STS, Skaggs Teleservices, part of the American Store stuff. And I'd do my videos there. At those studios, I would negotiate reduced rates as a freelancer to do videos, and now they wanted to hire me. I said, man, not only can this guy sell the work, he can come and do it. Yeah, we want to work here. I said, not anymore. I figured this thing out on how to do it myself. So that's how I got into getting into the video business and doing marketing and training videos for companies. Over time, I increased my expertise and created a business virtually with no money because I was willing to work evenings and Saturdays selling cars to build up the money I needed and support my family and do those kind of things. But here's what's fun about this story. While at school, and this goes convergence, I'm sure you don't have this textbook here anymore, but I saved this textbook because it was the selling, talk about selling, and there was a chapter in here on retail selling. And it laid out the steps to retail selling. And I took that and I expanded upon it a little bit, saying, okay, these are some of the steps, but here's really how these steps are. And for the fun of it, I wrote a script on how to sell for retailing. And when I was in that interview to get that job at that sporting goods store, I said, I've written a script already on how to sell. We can train all of our people, and he had no interest in it. Well, after I had my video production company and I was out doing videos for hire, I decided I wanted to get into the video publishing, produce my own videos to sell, and I had this script on how to sell, retail selling, and I decided to produce this video, and I called it the 6 Steps to Successful Retail Selling. And I produced this video and I put it out on a magazine, and I put on my credit. It's one of those credit card stories again. I put on my credit card, the production cost to do this video, and my credit card to offer it in a retail magazine, and I got very little sales on it. And I was disappointed. And I didn't understand sales and all that at that point for mass sales, but here's where this came into place. The head of National Sporting Goods Association ordered the video and liked it and called me up and said, hey, can you take that video and put a little montage on the front, shoot some scenes in a sporting goods store, and put the National Sporting Goods Association Presents, and we're going to put that in our catalog, and we'll sell hundreds, if not thousands of them. And so I said, sure, can do that. So we put it in the catalog, and they sold so many of these videos that I made more off my royalty of this video than I would have made 3 years working inside that little studio at that sporting goods store. And the irony of it was it was sold to the Sporting Goods Associations. Well, from there I thought, okay, if the Sporting Goods Association wants it, maybe the Menswear Retailer Association wants it, and all these others, and I can just customize it for them. I did that, and I sold lots of these videos doing that way. And then I started realizing, okay, I didn't have the money to market things, but I had the time and expertise to create them. I just got to find the others that had either the money or the distribution channel. And that's key when you think about the distribution channel to get it into. Marketing is one of the most expensive parts of anything you'll ever do in in any entrepreneurial pursuit you have. And so I went out and I decided to look at what was hot in the how-to market. I'd done this retail video. Jane Fonda was a big hit with all these aerobics videos. Those came on. They were a big hit. What could I do in the video business that would be a big hit? And I did some research and I came up with cake decorating, of all things, right? Cake decorating. They met the criteria. There was best-selling books on cake decorating. There was sell-out courses that people would go to at JCPenney's on cake decorating. So I thought, I'm going to do a cake decorating video. So I did this cake decorating video series, and we put it out there in the market, and we had some marginal success. But I just didn't have the money to really penetrate the market. And then one night, my wife asked me, she gave me the choice, she said, I need to make a cake tomorrow. I need a cake mix. And she's good at this. She gave me a choice. She said, you can either put the kids to bed so I can go get the cake mix, or you can go get the cake mix and I'll put the kids to bed. Well, I chose to go get the cake mix. She can put the kids to bed. And so I'm walking down the aisle of the supermarket. I get to the cake mixes, and I'm an economist. There's different prices. There's the off-brand at one price, and then the name brands at twice as much. So I look at the ingredients, and I'm thinking, man, they're both the same ingredients. But when I flip that box around, I noticed that there was this little offer on the back of the box. On all of the brand names, they had offers for something. So I started flipping all these boxes around. They all had different offers on them, and I thought, wow, they put offers on the back of their cake mix boxes. So I thought, I'm going to contact them and see if they want to put an offer for a cake mix box, cake mix video, cake decorating video on the back of their cake mix boxes. And so I targeted General Mills for the Betty Crocker, Duncan Hines, and Pillsbury. And I sent out 3 proposals, one to each of them, saying, here's an idea I have, producing a video. It's a product-related video. It'll show your cake mixes and your frostings and all your stuff, and it'll be a how-to video, and you sell it on the offer on the back of your cake mix boxes, and people will buy this video, and when they buy that video, they'll see your products being used, and they'll want to buy more of your products. And I sent that out to those 3 with a cover letter saying I will follow up next week. So I started my follow, and I was scared. I was in my mid-20s. This was scary to me to call these big corporations. So I called Duncan Hines, and the Duncan Hines person that it got to, I talked to him and I said, did you get my proposal on that cake video, decorating video? He says, yes, I did. We're not interested in it, but thank you for thinking of us. And that was a pleasant, short conversation. Okay. Second one, I called Pillsbury. Well, the Pillsbury guy read me the riot act. He just chewed me out for what a stupid idea to even send this off to a large corporation. Who do you think you are? You're wasting my time. Well, it was interesting. If I was wasting his time, that should have been the end of the conversation. But he wanted to spend about another 30 minutes to really let me know how stupid I was. And by the end of that conversation, I was emotionally devastated because he validated what I thought. You know, who am I? I'm sending this off to a big corporation. They're not going to be interested. But I took action. I got one more call to make, and I'm afraid to make that call because I already just got chewed out. But I promised in my letter, I said I would call, so I made the call. This call goes to Betty Crocker. And so I call, and I get the receptionist of the brand manager, and she says, Bill's not in his office right now. Can I take a message? I'm thinking, oh, good, I'm off the hook. Yeah, I don't have to talk to him. He's not going to yell at me. Yeah, tell Bill that Scott called. I sent this proposal and yada, yada, yada. And if he's interested, call me. So she's taking this message, and at the end of this conversation, idea over. Bill, while she's taking this, Bill comes walking by her desk, and she says, oh, Bill's out of his meeting. And I can hear the conversation. She says, Bill, I've got this guy on the phone who sent you a proposal about, and she explains it to him. And Bill says, I know nothing about the proposal. I didn't get it. but put the call through, I'll talk to him. So she puts the call through to him, and I start telling, and Bill, this is what Bill says. Bill says, okay, Scott, I just came from a meeting with my marketing group. They were all given the assignment to come up with a promotional idea to go on the back of a Betty Crocker cake mix. And he says, and I hated every one of those ideas, but I'm willing to listen to one more. Give me your best shot. And I told him my idea, and he says, Scott, I love it. I love your idea. When can you come out and present it to my team? And so we're looking at the calendar, and I set the date. You know what's going on in my head in this time? I'm thinking, man, I don't have any money. Can I afford the airfare and the hotel and all the rental car and everything that's going on? But I'm going to go do this. I've been invited. I'm scared to death. I'm in my mid-20s. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to go back there to General Mills, and I'm going to present my idea. And I show up there, and I didn't have a suit. I'm not a suit guy. I wear a suit to church and for you. But normally, I became an entrepreneur so I could wear jeans. And no dress code at my business. So I go back there, and I go to 1 Wayzata Boulevard, and I go into this big glass building, and they put me in an elevator that goes to the top floor where they've got this conference room as big as this room. And it's a big conference table, and it's lined on both sides with all these decision makers. And to make matters worse, Bill brings me up, and he puts his arm around me, and he says, this is the kid from Orem, Utah, who came up with the idea that you guys are paid to come up with. Now listen to what he says. And these are the best, and these guys have all been recruited out of Ivy League schools. These are MBAs. I'm just a guy from with a communications degree and an idea, knows how to shoot videos. And so I start telling them the idea. And they're all got these serious faces. And I'm thinking, man, this isn't working. And then this other guy, this old guy, he's probably about the age I am now. He's sitting there, this old guy sitting there, he's got his arms folded, and he just finally blurts out, he says, do you realize where you are? You're at General Mills. This is General Mills. We have some of the best and most advanced video production studios in the world right here in this building. We have studios set up that are test kitchens with cameras and lights, and we can bring the best cake decorators in the world into that kitchen, and I can make that video you're talking about next week. So why do you think you should be doing it? And I can be a smart aleck, and my kids will attest to that. And I was trying, here I am, I shouldn't be a smart aleck or anything, but my mouth got ahead of my brain, and I turned to him and I said, because I thought of the idea and you didn't. And he stood up, threw his chair back, and walked out the door, and that room broke out in applause. And they said, he deserved that, and the reason you're going to get to do this for us and not him is because you thought of it and he didn't. I was pretty excited then. And so we started talking about the details of this project. And I had a budget, and I said, this is going to cost about $20,000 to produce. And they said, we do our budgets, every 5-year budgets, and we don't have $20,000. And this is where I started learning how corporations do. I mean, this is General Mills, right? They don't have $20,000. It's not in their budget. And I'm thinking, so where am I? I said, okay, no problem. I'll produce it at my cost. I don't know where I'm going to get the money. I'm just thinking, I got a good deal. I'll produce it at my cost, and we'll share the revenue on the sales. And they said, no, we can't share the revenue on the sales. And I'm kind of, well, where's the upside to this? They go, we don't have a line item here as a cake division on video sales, so we can't share the revenue. You're going to have to keep all the revenue. That's okay, I can do that. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get all the revenue, but I got to produce it at my cost. And he said, and what we'll also do here is we got to have these things planned out in advance, and we got to know how many are coming into our warehouse. And we're going to give you a purchase order for 8,500 videos to get this started at $8.50 each. Because we were talking about selling it at $9.95, and that included shipping and handling. We came to a price of $8.50 is what the sales price would be. And I'm thinking, I'm going to walk out of here with a purchase order for 8,500 of these at $850 each. I mean, I can do the math. That was 80,000-ish. And I thought, okay, I can do that. And so I came back to Orem, Utah, having invested time in an idea, solving a problem, coming up with some knowledge, had the expertise, still didn't have the money. I went down to a video studio here with this purchase order and said, will you give me a line of credit for $20,000? And they called General Mills and, yeah, this is a real deal. Okay, you've got a line of credit here, your account, you've got a $20,000 account. You can produce your video here. And then General Mills says, you know, we're going to send our food stylists out there to do the work, the decorating for you. You just write the script. And that turned into this little project. On the back of every one of these cake mix boxes, way back in the early ages of video, they offered this, my video, cake decorating video, creative cakes for every occasion, for $9.99 plus one super moist thing, and I sold these videos. And that is what got me thinking about, I think I'm onto something here. How can I replicate that? How can I use somebody else's marketing channel? I use my time, my expertise, other people's expertise, and other people's money into their marketing channel to leverage the technologies that's out there and not have to go try to raise money and do all that kind of stuff. I did several projects like that that led me up to InvestTools. It's a very similar thing. I recognized with the internet that the brokerage firms were doing mass promotion on open up account at E-Trade and Ameritrade and all these online brokerage accounts to trade stocks. But nobody knew how to trade stocks. You could open an account, and I'm thinking, okay, you can open an account, but how do you do it? To me, it was like a hot summer day with a swimming pool and a whole bunch of kids saying, hey, you guys are hot and sweaty, you've come jump in the pool and cool off, and everybody was jumping into the online trading pool, and they were drowning financially. And I said, hey, I got to stop them at the edge of that pool and say, no, you need to learn how to do this before you jump into this pool. But there wasn't anything out there that taught people how to do it. A friend of mine, Ross Jardine, had been a broker, and I asked him if he knew anything about online trading, and he said, yeah, I trade online, I know how to do it, and I'm making money. So then I thought, okay, there's the expertise. I'm going to leverage this guy's expertise in how to trade, my expertise in how to turn information into knowledge, and put some time into this. Found this book out there called Cyber Investing that had some full of information, distilled it down to a 5-step training stock program. This was a Telescan company. Went out to Telescan. Telescan was backed by Paul Allen. And Paul Allen, you know, Bill Gates' partner, is pumping millions of dollars into this, and they weren't making any money. And I went out and said, well, what we need to do is do this training, and people will pay for the tools. And I'm in this room again, big conference room full of smart people. You know, if we all take IQ tests, I'd be on the lower end of it. And they got up and walked out of the room except for one guy, and he says, I think you're onto something. I'll champion this for you. What they ended up championing was, okay, you can use our tools and you can create your program, but that's about it. Long story short, I took this book and turned it into a full-day seminar, workshop, that we were charging $3,000 for people to attend. And David Brown, the author of this book, we were having a conversation one day, and he said, Scott, you are filling your workshop with people paying $3,000 when they can buy my book for $25. And I said, David, your book is drowning them in information, and I put this into applicable knowledge that they could follow. And the irony of it is, when I'm in a workshop full of like this, almost everybody has your book on their desk because they couldn't get it. And they were willing to pay me $3,000 to teach them how to trade with your system there. We took that concept and just continued building it up, and created, you know, the tipping point in that. Today there's lots of stock investing companies out there. but took that concept where we said if we take the tools, combine it with the trading, use technology to distribute it at the right time, at the right place, the people will buy it. And they did. Telescan never caught on to that concept, and they were on their way out of business. Paul Allen was going to let them go out of business. I needed their technology, so we actually acquired them. We called it a merger for their sake. We actually acquired them by bringing them in, doing a stock swap. My little company by then had $12 million sitting in the bank. We needed $6 million to pay off their debt so they wouldn't have to go into bankruptcy. Brought them in, changed the name to Invest Tools. At the same time, there were two other companies out there struggling because they hadn't figured out how to take an investing website and make money with it, and then we taught them how to do it and joint ventured with them. One was Business Week, McGraw-Hill Company, couldn't figure out how to make it work. The other was CNBC, couldn't figure out how to make it work. We partnered with them, and at one point, the three main leaders in investor education were these three companies, and they were all under our umbrella, and we were running them all three. And that started out of my home with no money and an idea, the right idea at the right time, leveraging expertise, time, little money, solving a problem where the world was drowning in information but starving for the knowledge, and then put it into action, and wonderful things happen with that. And I'm here to tell you that anyone can follow that formula. You're probably familiar with Invest Tools out there, just sold for $660 million, like I said. Started with zero money from my home. And my time's up, so I just wanted to thank you for inviting me here and sharing that story with you, and hope that there's something here you can take and apply in your entrepreneurial pursuits. Thank you.